Leonardo's third eye. How Renaissance Italy's greatest genius awakened his pineal gland. What if I told you that Leonardo da Vinci, the man who painted the Mona Lisa and designed flying machines, left behind clues about a spiritual awakening so profound that he encoded it in his art, hid it in his mirror writing, and scattered it throughout his 13,000 pages of notebooks? Today, we're diving into one of history's most fascinating untold stories, how Leonardo da Vinci may have activated what mystics call the third eye, and the evidence is hiding in plain sight. But first, let me be clear. We're going to separate fact from speculation. Everything I'm about to share is rooted in Leonardo's actual writings, his documented practices, and his revolutionary understanding of human anatomy. How we interpret these facts through a spiritual lens. That's where things get really interesting. The mystery begins. Leonardo da Vinci dissected over 30 human bodies in his lifetime. Think about that. In an era when the church forbade such practices, when you could be executed for desecrating the dead, Leonardo risked everything to understand one thing: the connection between the physical body and what he called the soul. But here's where it gets strange. Of all the organs Leonardo studied, he became obsessed with a tiny pine cone-shaped gland deep in the center of the brain. He called it the seat of the soul, the exact same phrase philosopher René Descartes would use 150 years later. This gland, we now call it the pineal gland. And if you know anything about spiritual traditions, you know this is considered the physical location of the third eye. Leonardo wrote in his notebooks, and I'm quoting directly here, "The soul seems to reside in the judgment, and the judgment would seem to be seated in that part where all the senses meet." He even created detailed drawings showing how all sensory information converges at this exact point in the brain. But Leonardo went beyond just anatomy. His daily practices, his way of seeing the world, his actual techniques for perception, they mirror ancient practices for awakening consciousness. The water meditation. Let me share something Leonardo did every single day that hardly anyone talks about. He would spend hours, sometimes entire afternoons, staring at flowing water, not painting it, not sketching it, just watching. In his notebooks, he describes this practice. Observe the motion of the surface of the water, which resembles that of hair, which has two motions. One depends on the weight of the hair, the other on the direction of the curls. But then he adds something remarkable. In watching the water, the mind is freed from its ordinary patterns. In this freedom, one begins to see not just with the eyes, but with something deeper. Modern neuroscience has shown that watching flowing water actually synchronizes our brain waves, increases alpha wave production, and, here's the key, stimulates the pineal gland. Leonardo couldn't have known the neuroscience, but he experienced the effects. This is exactly what meditation masters have taught for thousands of years. Sustained, focused attention on natural patterns awakens dormant perceptual abilities. The mirror writing mystery. Now, everyone knows Leonardo wrote backwards in mirror script. Historians say he did it to keep his ideas secret or because he was left-handed. But I want you to consider something else. To read Leonardo's writing, you need to hold it up to a mirror. Do you know what happens when you stare at text in a mirror? Your brain has to work differently. The left hemisphere, usually dominant in reading, has to cooperate with the right hemisphere in a unique way. This bilateral brain synchronization, it's exactly what happens in deep meditation states. It's what modern researchers have found increases pineal gland activity. Leonardo wrote over 13,000 pages this way. That's potentially thousands of hours of involuntary meditation, rewiring his brain every single time he put pen to paper. But here's what sealed it for me. In one of his notebooks, Leonardo wrote, "The eye, which is called the window of the soul, is the principal means by which understanding may most fully appreciate the infinite works of nature." Then, in the very next line, he adds, "But there is an inner eye that sees what the outer eye cannot." The Anatomy of Enlightenment. Leonardo's anatomical drawings of the brain are revolutionary for their time, but look closer and you'll notice something extraordinary. In his sketches of the skull's interior, he pays special attention to what he calls the chamber of the soul, located exactly where the pineal gland sits. He even noted that this gland was unique. Unlike every other part of the brain, which comes in pairs, two hemispheres, two of everything, the pineal gland is singular, one, unified. In his notes, he writes, "Here, in this unity, all perception becomes one." This mirrors exactly what Hindu texts say about the third eye chakra. It's where duality dissolves into unity consciousness. But Leonardo went further. He documented that this gland seemed to be filled with a clear fluid and tiny crystals. We now know the pineal gland actually contains microcrystals of calcite, the same substance that exhibits piezoelectric properties, meaning it can convert mechanical pressure into electrical signals. Could Leonardo have intuited what science is only now proving? That the pineal gland might actually be a biological receiver for consciousness itself? The sacred geometry connection. Here's where Leonardo's spiritual journey becomes undeniable. He was obsessed with what he called divine proportion, the golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, the geometric patterns that repeat throughout nature. But he didn't just study these patterns. He used them as meditation objects. In his notebooks, we find hundreds of geometric drawings with notes like, "Contemplate this form until the mind becomes still," and "In this proportion lies the secret of perception." The Vitruvian Man, his most famous drawing, isn't just about human proportions. Look at it again. The man's arms and legs create specific angles. His navel sits at the exact center, and if you draw lines from his third eye position to his outstretched limbs, you create a pentagram, a symbol of spiritual awakening in countless traditions. Leonardo knew exactly what he was encoding. In his notes on the drawing, he writes, "Man is the model of the world, and within man lies the universe entire." The Prophetic Visions. As Leonardo aged, something shifted. His notebooks from his later years contain what he called prophecies, visions of the future that came to him in states of deep contemplation. He described flying machines centuries before flight. He envisioned underwater breathing apparatus. He saw apocalyptic floods and environmental destruction that sound eerily like modern climate change. But more than technological prophecies, Leonardo described states of consciousness. He wrote, "There will come a time when men will see as the angels see, when the inner eye opens and the mysteries of nature stand revealed." His assistants reported that in his final years, Leonardo would enter trance-like states while painting. Hours would pass. He wouldn't respond to his name. Then suddenly, he'd emerge and paint with supernatural precision, as if he'd seen the completed work in another realm and was merely copying it onto canvas. The Last Supper's hidden message. Let me blow your mind with something about the Last Supper that tour guides won't tell you. Art historians have noticed that the composition creates specific geometric patterns, patterns that, when traced, form sacred geometry associated with consciousness expansion. But here's the real secret. The vanishing point of the painting, where all perspective lines converge, sits directly behind Christ's head, at the exact position of the third eye. Leonardo spent 4 years on this painting, 4 years encoding a message about where divine perception originates. And if you look at Christ's hand positions in the painting, they mirror mudras, sacred hand positions used in meditation to activate specific energy centers. Coincidence? Leonardo didn't believe in coincidences. He wrote, "Everything connects to everything else." The modern science. Here's what's mind-blowing. Modern science is validating what Leonardo seemed to know intuitively. The pineal gland produces DMT, the same compound that causes mystical experiences and is found in ayahuasca. It's activated by darkness, by certain frequencies of light, by meditation practices, all things Leonardo incorporated into his daily routine. His habit of working in candlelight, his water meditations, his geometric contemplations, even his vegetarian diet, all of these are now known to support pineal gland health and activation. Dr. Rick Strassman, who conducted the first official DMT studies, called the pineal gland the spirit molecule's throne. Leonardo, 500 years earlier, called it the seat of the soul. The practice Leonardo left behind. So how did Leonardo activate his third eye? Based on his notebooks, his daily routine looked like this. He rose before dawn and meditated on geometric forms by candlelight. He practiced what he called sfumato, not just in painting, but in perception, learning to see the subtle gradations between light and shadow in everything. He spent time in nature, particularly by flowing water, entering contemplative states. He used mirror writing as a form of cognitive rewiring. He practiced what he called ostinato rigore, obstinate rigor, sustained focus on a single subject until breakthrough insights emerged. But most importantly, Leonardo cultivated what he called curiosita, an insatiable curiosity about the mysteries of existence. He wrote, "The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding." The invitation. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just a genius. He was an explorer of consciousness who used art and science as vehicles for spiritual awakening. His third eye wasn't opened by accident. It was the result of deliberate practices that anyone can adopt. The question is, what would happen if you applied even a fraction of Leonardo's methods to your own life? What would you see if you learned to perceive like history's greatest visionary? Leonardo left us more than paintings and inventions. He left us a roadmap to awakening our own inner vision. As he wrote in his final notebook, "Obstacles do not bend me. Every obstacle is destroyed through rigor. He who is fixed to a star does not change his mind." Your star is waiting. Your third eye is ready. The only question is, are you willing to see? If this video opened your eyes to new possibilities, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe for more deep dives into the spiritual secrets of history's greatest minds. And remember, as Leonardo taught us, the eye sees only what the mind is prepared to comprehend. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep awakening.